Hello students, welcome to our online video tutorial class. So as usual, we have finished the chapter that is reproductive health, and after that specific chapter according to our syllabus the second unit is starting because we have already finished the 4 chapters present in the unit number 1. So in the second unit, the first chapter, that is principles of inheritance and variation. And keep it in your mind, the second unit is exclusively based on the genetics and evolution. First 2 chapters are based on the genetics and the third chapter is on evolution. So we are starting the discussion regarding this chapter in this video. First of all, when we will be starting this chapter, principles of inheritance and variation, we need to know various kind of genetic terminologies, the terminologies which are very much common in the study of genetics. Because if these terminologies are not known to you, on that time obviously several things you can't understand from the genetics portion. So whatever the terminologies we need to study here, let's see. First, chromosome. Chromosome means what? It is a such kind of macromolecule which is commonly found within the cell, and it is consisting of the DNA, protein and RNA. So chromosome is actually, if you break the word chromosome, chromo means that is a color, chroma, and zome means body. So it is such kind of colored body which is present within the nucleus of the cell, and it is exclusively responsible for transmitting various kind of informations from one generation to the next generation. And it is all obviously made up of DNA and histone, non-histone proteins, as well as sometimes RNA is also involved in the structure of chromosome. After chromosome, if we come to the next point, that is the unit of the chromosome, rather you can say that is the gene. So the gene is actually a small part of the DNA or the chromosome which is exclusively responsible for the protein synthesis and which is actually transmitting the features or characteristics from one generation to the next generation. So that specific small part or those specific small parts present in the DNA or the chromosome is commonly known as gene. Locus, actually I have already told you the gene is the small part of the DNA or the chromosome. So the small portion or the small location where the gene is present, that is commonly known as locus of that specific gene. So locus word has come from the location. So location of the gene in the DNA is commonly known as gene locus, and obviously gene locus is none other than the DNA sequence present in the chromosome. Allele, what is allele? Allele also, this word I think you have listened previously also in the lower classes, but I think the definition of the allele or the meaning of the allele is not clear to each and everyone. So allele is actually, if you consider each and every type of gene, so each and every type of the gene is having 2 or more than 2 alternative forms. Commonly each and every gene is having 2 alternative forms. So those alternative forms of a gene or gene marker is known as allele. Now in case of some of the gene, it is found that more than 2 alternative forms also can be found. So on that time, that concept or that specific event is known as dominant the multiple allele concept, that we will be discussing in this chapter only later on. But allele is actually the alternative forms of a gene or gene marker is known as allele. Okay. Coming to the next specific slide where more some definitions are present regarding the specific genetics portion. In case of allele, when we are discussing, if the 2 allelic forms are present, those are contrasting forms. So one allele will be obviously dominant allele which will always express its features. So in case of any of the organism, whatever the characteristic features are getting manifested outside or which can be expressed commonly, those are all dominant alleles because those are getting expressed. Those are always dominant. But whatever the another allele which is not getting expressed, which is always gets suppressed by the dominant allele, that allele is commonly known as recessive allele. Okay. So the alleles are 2 types, dominant and recessive. Now we are coming to some of the more terminologies, where the first terminology is genotype. What is the genotype? Genotype is the genetic makeup of a cell or any organism or any individual. So genetic makeup of any organism or individual, or chromosomal makeup rather we can say, that is called as genotype. As an example, in case of human male, the genotype is AA plus XY, 44A plus XY, and in case of female 44A plus XX. So from this specific term, what we can understand, 44 autosomes are present. With that, either XY chromosomes are present in male or in female XX chromosomes are present. That means this is obviously the entire chromosomal makeup present within each and every cell of that organism. Okay, so this is the genotype. with the word genotype there is another word is also coming, that is phenotype. So the observable characteristic features or expressible characteristic features or traits, those are commonly known as phenotype. And always keep it in your mind, the observable characteristic features are always depending on the chromosomal makeup or genetic makeup. So for that reason phenotype will be always depending on the genotype. Now in case of genotype, if you will see in case of any of the organism, both of the allelic forms present in the chromosome, they are similar. On that time, that specific genotype is commonly known as homozygous. Okay, as an example, suppose in case of female individual, both of the chromosomes are, sex chromosomes are X chromosomes, XX, and they are having same kinds of genes or alleles. So obviously for any of the gene or for any of the allele, obviously we can say female are homozygous. Okay, because they are having same allele on both of the X chromosomes. Now if you will see, two different alleles are present in the homologous chromosome, obviously they are considered as a heterozygous stage or heterozygous genetic makeup. So always keep it in your mind, in case of diploid organisms, they are having the chromosomes which are present in paired form, and those chromosomes are commonly known as homologous chromosome, which is not written here. So in case of homologous chromosome, if you are seeing that both allelic forms which are present in both of the homologous chromosome, they are same or similar, so obviously that genetic makeup will be considered as the homozygous type of genetic makeup. And if you see in both of the homologous chromosome, the alleles are different, the genetic makeups are different due to the allele difference, so obviously those individuals will be considered as heterozygous. Now homozygous can be of two types, homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive. What is that? If you will see any of the organism is homozygous, that means containing same allelic form on both of the homologous chromosomes. Now the point is, you need to see both of the allelic forms which are present on the surface of homologous chromosome, are they dominant allele or recessive allele? If both of the alleles are dominant allele, obviously we can say this kind of homozygous condition as dominant homozygous condition. Okay, and if you will see both of the allelic forms are recessive, on that time it is recessive homozygous condition. Okay, and in case of heterozygous, obviously one dominant allelic form will be there in one chromosome, another chromosome will be containing the another allelic form. So this is overall the homozygous and heterozygous concept. Now there is the last three definitions are there, that is true breeding. True breeding means the organisms pure breed. Suppose an organism that always passes down its certain phenotypic traits to its offspring, exactly the maternal feature is going to the next generation offspring. So obviously that breed will be considered as a pure breed. Why? Because there is no such kind of fertilization, there is no such kind of reproduction is taking place directly, combination of the characteristic features are not taking place. So for that reason they are true breeding, no variations are coming. Wild type is such kind of the phenotype in nature which is most common. So most common feature which is commonly found in this environment, that is called as wild type feature. And mutant feature means physical or genetic difference which is coming from a mutation of a gene, then it will be known as mutant feature. So which features are mostly commonly found in the environment, that is known as wild type phenotype or wild type feature. And if the features are not so much found, if the feature has been created due to some mutation or due to some mutagenic agent, and that will be obviously those organisms, or that feature is obviously known as mutant feature or mutant organism. So I think in these two slides, whatever the definitions we have just discussed, I think each and every definition is very much clear to each and everyone. Only the homologous chromosome definition is not written here, so you will be just keeping it in your mind. The chromosomes are always present within a cell in a pair form, and those pair of chromosomes who are similar looking, similar structure, only the allelic structure or the allelic configuration can differ, those chromosomes are known as homologous chromosome. Again I am repeating, homologous means homo means similar, logos means looking. So those chromosomes who are similar looking, similar shape, similar size, similar structure, similar length, everything similar, only the allelic configuration present in the chromatids, those can differ. So those chromosomes are commonly known as homologous chromosomes. Now we are just entering within the concept of genetics, and it is starting with the Gregor Johann Mendel. I think we have listened this specific scientist's name because we have studied the experiment on the pea plant performed by this specific scientist in between the year of 1856 and 1863. And keep it in your mind, he has only told for the first time there is some factor which is getting transmitted from one generation to the next generation. And for this reason, Gregor Johann Mendel, or the Mendel, is considered as the father of genetics, because he has first just started the experiment on the pea plant, and from the pea plant he has come to this conclusion that there is some factor present which is passing from one generation to next. So for that reason he is called as father of genetics. Now next point is that Gregor Johann Mendel has done the experiment on the pea plant. So now the common question can come in our mind, there are so many plants are present, there are so many animals are also present in this world, why he has selected pea plant for his experiment? The reasons are such as, first of all, the Mendel has selected the pea plant because of the pure variety of the pea plants were easily available. He was the priest in a church, so in that specific church garden the pure variety of the pea plants were available. So for that reason he has started the experiment with the pea plant. Pea plants are easy to cultivate. In small area also it can be cultivated easily. Life cycle of the pea plants are only for few months. So if you are doing any experiment on this plant, you will be getting the result by few months. Okay, so early results you can obtain like Mendel has obtained. Keep it in your mind, they are having contrasting traits also, and those traits are 7 pairs, not 1 pair or 2 pair. 7 pairs of contrasting traits he has obtained, and those are also present in different chromosomes. So obviously it was easier for doing the experiment by him. Keep it in your mind, the flowers are bisexual, so obviously they can perform the self-pollination as well as cross-pollination. But here Mendel, when he has done the experiment, obviously he has performed the self-pollination. Okay, so flowers were bisexual, that was obviously an advantage for this experiment. And the second thing is that flowers can be cross-pollinated only manually. Manually also the cross-pollination can be done. Naturally also it is happening, but manually also can be done. Keep it in your mind, the hybrid pea plants which were taken birth, those were all fertile, those were not sterile. So due to presence of the fertility further, the hybrid individuals are again get crossed, and we have got the F2 generation. So for this specific reason, obviously all these specific reasons, pea plant was get selected by the Mendel, and he has obtained unexpected results also from this specific experiment on the pea plant. Now let's see whatever the contrasting characteristic features he has taken. First, shape of the seeds. Shape of the seeds, obviously the dominant allotic form of the shape is round, and recessive allotic form whatever he has obtained, that is wrinkled. If you consider the next feature, that is color of seed, then also in case of yellow is the dominant trait, green is the recessive trait. If you consider the color of the pod, then green is the dominant trait and recessive trait is the yellow. If you talking about the shape of the pod, obviously the inflated is the dominant trait and constricted is the recessive trait. Okay, so this is obviously this specific important contrasting features he has obtained. If you consider the next feature, that is plant height, obviously the dominant feature was tall and recessive feature was short or dwarf. Next feature was position of the flower. In case of position of the flower, if you study the terminal position of the flower, that is the dominant trait, and axial position of the flower, that is the recessive trait. And the last feature, that is the flower color, that purple color flower which is commonly found in pea plant, that is the dominant color and dominant trait, and white flower which is found, that is a recessive trait. So these 7 pairs of the contrasting features, whatever the Mendel has obtained from the pea plant, and that's why he has performed the experiments in very smooth manner, and he has obtained so many results also from the pea plant. Next we are going the types of cross. We are starting from here. So the Mendel has performed the cross, which one at first, that is monohybrid cross. What is that monohybrid cross? From the terminology we can understand only mono means single and hybrid means the single gene with its 2 allelic forms when they will be get crossed and the new hybrid progenies are taking birth. So this is a type of the cross where one specific gene with its 2 alleles containing individuals have taken and the cross has been done, reproduction has been performed in between them, and hybrid individuals, heterozygous individuals have taken birth. So this kind of cross is commonly known as monohybrid cross. For the monohybrid cross, he has obviously taken the trait, that is the stem height of the pea plant. And in case of stem height, we all know the dominant allele is capital T and the recessive allele is small t. And keep it in your mind, who are dominant plants, okay, or they are containing dominant alleles obviously. So obviously their genotype can be either capital T, and who are dwarf, obviously their genotype can be small t. There is one more category of the plants are present who are showing dominant dominant features, that is a tall feature, but they are having both of the alleles, dominant and recessive. Those individuals or those plants are actually heterozygous plants, capital T, small t. Okay, so capital T individuals are dominant individuals, they are homozygous dominant. Then capital T, small t, these are heterozygous individuals, but they are also tall like the homozygous individuals. Then there is another category has found who are containing the recessive allelic form, small t, and they are exclusively dwarf. Now we are just going inside the cross or the mechanism of the cross. In the cross, you can see here, first of all, the individuals whatever we have taken within whom the cross has been performed, they are belonging from the generation, that is P generation. P for parental generation. So in the parental generation, we have taken two plants. One is capital T, that is pure tall. Another one is small t, that is pure dwarf. So these two specific parents, when they are forming the gametes by the process of meiosis, obviously they can form only two types of gamete. Capital T individuals can produce only capital T chromosome containing gametes, and small t individuals are only producing small t containing gametes. Now when the gametes of these individuals are getting fertilized with each other, automatically the individuals who are taking birth, those are all containing capital T, small t. That means the heterozygous individuals have been produced, heterozygous hybrid individuals have been produced. Now the point is, in which generation they have been produced? They are actually get produced in the F1 generation, that is first filial generation or the first generation of progeny. There all individuals have taken birth who are hybrid, capital T, small t. Now Mendel, what he has done? He has done the self pollination or selfing. That means he has taken another plant which is also capital T, small t genotype containing, and he has crossed in between them. After crossing, obviously you can understand both of the plants are now heterozygous, so obviously both of the plants will be producing two kinds of gamete, capital T and small t. Now when we have placed capital T, small t along the x-axis and capital T and small t along the y-axis, obviously we are keeping here, this is the male gametes, these are the male gametes and these are the female gametes. So capital T, small t, here you can see this is the female symbol, so these are the female gametes, and this is the male symbol, so these are the male gametes. Now when the gametes are just fusing with each other, after fusion you can see there are three types of individuals are actually getting produced after this cross. One is capital T genotype containing individual, another one is small t containing individual, and few are there capital T, small t genotype containing individual. So obviously from this specific cross, what we can come to know? We can come to know that if you consider the phenotype, you will see for this individual, and for this individual, they are all tall, only this one is dwarf. That means phenotypic ratio will be tall is to dwarf, that is 3:1. But if you consider the genotype for calculating the ratio, you will see that capital T is the homozygous dominant, capital T, small t is heterozygous dominant, and small t is homozygous recessive. So for that reason their ratio is coming 1:2:1. So this is the phenotypic and the genotypic ratio which is commonly found in after the monohybrid cross. So phenotypic ratio will be 3:1 and the genotypic ratio will be 1:2:1. And keep it in your mind, the individuals whatever you are getting in the F2 generation, from the F2 generation only the phenotypic and genotypic ratio has been calculated. Now after the monohybrid cross, there is another type of the cross, and that is the dihybrid cross. Same thing. In case of monohybrid cross, what we have taken? We have taken only one gene and its two alternative allelic forms, and we have done the cross. But here, keep it in your mind, in case of dihybrid cross, we need to take two different genes and their two pairs of allelic forms, that is 4 allelic form, alternative allelic forms, and after that we need to cross them. So automatically this is commonly known as dihybrid cross. So in case of dihybrid cross, what Mendel has chosen? Mendel has chosen two different trait or feature. One is the seed color, another one is seed shape. Seed color, obviously we know that for seed color yellow is the dominant trait, and that is denoted by the capital Y, and for green that is the recessive trait, and that is denoted by the small y. If you consider the seed shape, that is round, and that is denoted by the capital R, and in case of wrinkled, that is denoted by the small r. So based on that, he has taken two wild type genotype or homozygous genotype. One plant is capital Y, capital Y, capital R, capital R. Another plant is small y, small y, small r, small r. So these two individuals you have that Mendel has taken during the experiment time. So now the thing is that in the P generation we have taken this capital Y, capital Y, capital R, and small y, small y, small r, small r. Now when they are actually producing the gametes, obviously they can capital Y, capital Y, capital R individuals can produce only capital Y, capital R containing gametes, and small y, small y, small r individuals are actually producing the only small y, small r chromosome containing gametes. Now when these gametes are fusing with each other, obviously it is forming capital Y, capital R, small r chromosome containing individual, and it is obviously a hybrid individual which has taken birth in the F1 generation. And now the point is, he has also performed the same process whatever he has done for the monohybrid cross. He has performed the self crossing or selfing he has done. He has taken another individual with the same heterozygous genotype, capital Y, capital R, small r, and now he has crossed them. So when he has crossed them, obviously one individual of the F1 we need to consider that as a female. So that female will be producing the gametes capital Y, capital R, capital Y, small y, capital R, small y, small r. These four gametes will be produced by the female, as well as these four gametes will be produced by the male. Okay. Now these specific gametes are just fusing with each other. When they are fusing, at last you can see that capital R, capital Y, capital R, capital R, as well as capital Y, small y, capital R, or capital Y, capital R, capital R. That means which specific seeds are actually showing the dominant trait. Their number is 9. Okay, yellow round is 9. Then yellow wrinkled is 3. Then yellow green, green wrinkled, that is also 3. Green, first one is that yellow round, that is 9 in number. Then green round, that is also 3 in number. Then yellow wrinkled, that is 3 in number, and then green wrinkled, that is 1 in number. So it is based on the phenotypic features, we have just calculated the ratio. Total 9:3:3:1. Now if you go to discuss about the genotypic ratio, obviously phenotypic ratio we need to break it so that we can get the genotypic ratio. How we will break it? The 9 will need to be broken into 1, 2, 2, 4. So 9 will be broken into 1:2:2:4. Then 3 will be broken 1:2. Then this 3 will be broken into 1:2, and this one is kept like 1. So 9:3:3:1. This ratio will be broken in the form 1:2:2:4:1:2:1:2:1. 9 is broken into 1, 2, 2, 4. 3 will be broken into 1, 2. This 3 will be broken into 1, 2, and this one is 1 only. So this is overall the phenotypic and genotypic ratio commonly found in case of dihybrid cross. Is it clear, students? I think the monohybrid and dihybrid phenotypic ratio, genotypic ratio, as well as entire mechanism of the cross is very much clear to everyone. Now I am coming to the most important point, whatever the conclusion we have drawn from these two experiments, or Mendel has drawn. Mendel has proposed 3 different laws. First law, second law, and third law. First law is a law of dominance, second law is law of segregation, and third law is law of independent assortment. What are these laws actually? If you just go back to the monohybrid cross, you can see here the first law, that is the law of dominance, based on the individual which is taken birth in the F1 generation, which is produced in the F1 generation. If you see the offspring which is produced in the F1 generation, see carefully, one allele is dominant, another allele is recessive. But due to presence of minimum 1 copy of dominant allele, the phenotypic feature which is expressed, that is the dominant feature. That means in case of law of dominance only, it has been told that if in between two alleles, one allele is dominant, another one is recessive, then obviously the dominant allele will express and recessive allele will get suppressed, and the feature of dominant allele will be manifested. So here also the same thing you can see, one is dominant allele, that is capital T, another one is recessive allele, that is small t, but when minimum one copy of dominant allele is present, that will get expressed. Okay, so for that reason tall feature we can see for this pea plant. So this is satisfying the first law, that is law of dominance. Second, law of segregation. What is about the law of segregation? Law of segregation means, specifically you can see, maybe in the F1 generation the Mendel has got hybrid individual, but he has performed the self pollination by taking that heterozygous individual, and luckily for that reason in the F2 generation he has obtained homozygous dominant, he has obtained homozygous recessive, as well as he has obtained heterozygous dominant, three different variants. Okay, so capital T has also obtained, capital T small t also he has obtained, and small t also he has obtained. But now the question is, why he has obtained this much variants when he has not obtaining the variants in the F1? How he has obtained those variants in the F2? The reason behind it is, in the F1 generation maybe we can see the capital T and small t, these are the two alternative alleles or contrasting alleles, they are present side by side, but it doesn't mean they have mixed with each other. They have not mixed, they are only present side by side. So for that reason, when during the F2 generation progeny formation, those alleles are get segregated. Okay, and that due to the segregation properly, they have made these three kind of genotype containing individuals: homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, and heterozygous dominant. If the both of the alleles present in the F1 generation individual got mixed, on that time the segregation cannot take place, and we will not be getting the progenies in the F2 generation, such like capital T, small t, and small t. So from here it is getting proved that the alleles which are present in the F1 generation individual, those alleles are only present side by side, but they have not get mixed with each other, and as a result in the F2 generation they have got segregated properly, and three different variants of the genotype has been produced. So this is actually the law of segregation which is proposed by the Mendel in his second law. Last, law of independent assortment. For taking the law of independent assortment, we need to come to the dihybrid cross, because in the dihybrid cross, based on that only the law of independent assortment has been proposed. Based on which specific phase? After getting capital Y, small y, capital R, small r, that is the hybrid individual in the F1 generation. If you are taking the same genotype containing individual and cross them, obviously please see carefully that whatever the allelic forms of the genes are present, they are getting independently segregated during the time of gamete formation. So the alleles which are present in the individual, they are not only getting combined with each other, they are not got mixed also, they remain independent, and they are getting independently segregated during the time of gamete formation. How? Let's see. This specific individual, capital Y, capital R, small r, when they are forming the gamete, capital Y is coming with capital R, as well as capital Y is coming with small r also. If you see, small y is coming with capital R, as well as small y is coming with small r. So that means in case of any kind of permutation combination, these specific allelic forms can come, and they can produce various types of gametes. Maximum 4 types of gametes can be produced by the permutation combination of these alleles. So whatever the conclusion we can come, the conclusion we are coming that the allelic forms which are present in the F1 progeny, those alleles are present side by side, but they are also they have not got mixed, they have not get combined, they have not got dependent also, rather they remain in independent condition, and during the gamete formation any of the dominant allele can come with the dominant allele or recessive allele, any one, and that's why 4 different varieties of the gametes have been produced. So this is actually law of independent assortment. That means as independently the gametes or the alleles are getting assorted. Now after the Mendel's law, we are just entering into another types of crosses except the monohybrid and dihybrid cross. So let's see whatever the other types of crosses are commonly found. First one is we will be discussing about the reciprocal cross. Reciprocal cross means whatever the type of cross we have already seen. What the Mendel has performed, he has taken 2 individuals with different phenotype, because their genotypes are also different, One is pure line dominant, another one is pure line recessive. So when the cross is happening in between the pure dominant and pure recessive individual, so obviously that kind of the cross is commonly known as or called as reciprocal cross. Okay, because both of the individuals are reciprocal to each other. Both are containing different genotype, both are containing different phenotype also. If you are coming to the test cross, obviously keep it in your mind, test cross is a type of the cross where the F1 hybrid individual is get crossed with the recessive homozygous parent, that is small t small t. If the cross will be performed in between capital T small t with small t, that is a recessive homozygous parent, then it is known as test cross. But what is back cross? Back cross means if the cross will be performed in between the F1 hybrid individual and any one of the parent, maybe that parent is homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive, any one of the parent, then that specific type of cross is commonly known as back cross. So back cross is obviously you can say considered as a test cross is obviously a type of back cross, because test cross is only the cross in between the heterozygous individual with recessive homozygous individual, but obviously back cross is the heterozygous individual with any of the dominant or recessive homozygous individual if the cross will be performed. So that is back cross. Reciprocal cross already I have told, because Mendel has performed that reciprocal cross only. Now we are just coming out of the Mendelian laws, Mendelian features, Mendelian cross, because some of the other events are also present in this world which can be visualized, which are not following the Mendelian rules, Mendelian laws. So such an example is that incomplete dominance. What is incomplete dominance? Incomplete dominance is a such kind of the event where you can see the both of one is dominant feature, another is recessive feature, but when the dominant allele and recessive allele they are present side by side, we all know the feature of the dominant allele will be expressed outside, but in this case we can see the dominant allele and recessive allele, not the feature of dominant or recessive allele will be expressed, rather the feature which is getting expressed outside, that is a mixture of the dominant and recessive allele, which is commonly found in case of snapdragon flower. They are having red flower, which is the red color is the dominant allele, and white flower also they are having, that is white color is recessive allelic feature. So when the red colored allele containing flower and the white colored allele containing flower they have got crossed, automatically you are getting the flowers which are all pink in color. Commonly according to the Mendel's postulate, all of the colors of the flowers will be red, because red is dominant over the white, but here it has been found that the dominant feature is not getting expressed, even the recessive feature is not getting expressed also. Both of the features are get mixed, and after getting mixed they are actually showing the pink color. Okay, so keep it in your mind, all of the individuals genotype will be capital or smaller, and here the ratio of the individuals will be 1:1:1:1:1. There is no such kind of phenotypic and genotypic ratio like 1:2:1 and 3:1, which is commonly found in case of monohybrid cross, or which is commonly produced in case of monohybrid cross. That will not be followed. So incomplete dominance means when the dominant allele will not just express its feature, rather the dominant and recessive allelic form both have got mixed, and the mixed feature or the mixed characteristic feature will be getting expressed. So that is commonly known as incomplete dominance. After incomplete dominance there is another also exceptional feature or the event can be found, that is the codominance. Suppose in case of any specific gene, if multiple alleles are present and if that specific gene is having two dominant allelic forms, then both of the dominant allelic forms, if they will express simultaneously, then that specific event or that specific phenomena is known as codominance. As an example, if you consider the blood group, in case of blood group A containing individual, they are having A antigen on the surface of RBC, that's why they are blood group A. Who are having B antigen on the surface of the blood RBC, obviously they are showing the B blood group. But which specific individuals they are showing A and B antigen on the surface, because A and B antigen both are actually the product of dominant allele IA and IB. So when they are actually produced from the dominant allele, automatically both of the proteins will be present on the surface of the RBC, A and B antigen both. So automatically both of the dominant allelic form, when they will be expressing simultaneously, the AB blood group has come for few individuals. So this is obviously an example of the codominance, whatever you can see, you can in case of blood grouping. So after codominance there is another phenomenon, that is pleiotropy. Okay, pleiotropy is actually a phenomenon where a single gene and its allelic forms are controlling various phenotypic features, and those features are all unrelated. They are not related features, rather they are unrelated features. So those features are when get controlled by a various allelic form of a single gene. So that phenomenon is commonly known as pleiotropy. And which kind of genes are showing this kind of phenomena, or even those genes are known as pleiotropic gene. Now in case of which specific examples we can see this? In case of sickle cell anemia, that is causes multiple symptoms, only one of which is actual sickle cell condition. Okay. Suppose in case of Drosophila, okay, there is one specific gene is present which is responsible for the eye color, which is responsible for the body color, which is responsible for the texture of the wing. So one specific gene is present, but its allelic forms are actually controlling various features, and those features are even unrelated. So obviously this kind of examples will be coming under the pleiotropic or pleiotropy. Okay. Another non-Mendelian inheritance, or you can say the exceptional case from the non-Mendelian inheritance, that is polygenic inheritance. From the name you can understand polygenic, that means when multiple genes are involved or multiple genes are responsible for controlling one feature, then it is known as polygenic inheritance. It is not like that from a single gene all the alleles are controlling a single feature. Maybe there are multiple genes are present and those are controlling a single feature in a collective manner. So this is polygenic inheritance. Keep it in your mind, in case of polygenic inheritance, which of the genes are responsible? They are exclusively controlling some of the features which are quantitative features, not the qualitative features. As an example, the height of human being, the crop yield. Okay, so these are the skin colors. So these are the examples. Are so many variations are present, and there are so many quantities are present. So these features are obviously the quantitative features, not qualitative features. So due to presence of this specific feature, these features are all controlled by multiple genes, and those genes are unrelated most of the time. So this is commonly known as polygenic inheritance. Okay, skin color, eye color, seed color in wheat. So these all examples are under the polygenic inheritance. So up to this, the Mendelian concepts of genetic as well as non-Mendelian inheritance, regarding that several events like incomplete dominance, codominance, pleiotropy, polygenic inheritance, these all things we have discussed. Now just we are moving to another kind of the concept, that is Mendel has proposed, or according to his law he has told that there is some factor which is getting inherited from the one generation to next generation, and that factor is what actually DNA or RNA or protein, that has not been specified by the Mendel. Okay, so after this specific Mendelian laws, there was another more law, or the proposition came to the genetics field, that is chromosomal theory of inheritance. So this is actually the theory of inheritance where chromosome is exclusively responsible, and not only chromosome, with that DNA or gene, these two structures are also responsible for the inheritance. That is properly cleared, because chromosome or gene or DNA all are actually equivalent. What the chromosome is carrying for the next generation, the same thing is carried by the DNA or the gene. Whatever the chromosomal characteristic features are there for inheritance, the DNA or gene are having also same characteristic features for inheritance. So for showing the equivalence in between DNA, gene and chromosome, this theory was proposed by Sutton and Boveri, these two scientists, in the year of 1902. So according to them, what were the propositions of this specific theory? Chromosomes are always present in pairs. We all know they are present in homologous format. Homologous chromosomes separate during the time of meiosis so that the alleles get segregated. Keep it in your mind, mostly within each and every cell, the chromosomes are present in paired form. So that is commonly known as homologous chromosome. But keep it in your mind, is homologous chromosomes are getting separated only during the time of meiosis cell division, and when the alleles are getting segregated actually. Meiosis cell division produces one of each homologous chromosomes but not both. Meiotic products means the gametes. Always keep it in your mind, the gametes are containing single homologous chromosome, not the pair. Okay, because during the time of meiosis cell division they have already segregated. So for that reason, meiotic product or the gametes will be containing a single homologous chromosome, a single chromosome of the homologous pair, not the both. Fertilization restores the pair of chromosomes. If the fertilization will happen in between the male gamete and female gamete, again the chromosomes will come in the pair form. Only in the gamete stage or gametic stage the chromosomes are not present in the paired form, or rather they are present in unpaired form, and after fertilization they are again returning to the paired form, that is diploid form. Genes are located on the chromosomes. That means whatever the inherited features are actually carried by the chromosome, those all features are getting carried by the genes also. Because actually if you go to the specific or the minute level, you can see actually the genes are responsible for carrying the characteristic feature from one generation to next generation. And for that case the chromosome is also responsible. If the genes will not be there in the DNA, obviously the chromosome can't carry any of the feature separately from one generation to the next generation. So obviously the genes are actually the responsible object or responsible factor which is further carrying the informations from one generation to next generation. So these are the theories which are commonly or collectively known as chromosomal theory of inheritance, and which was proposed by the Sutton and Boveri. Now just we have come to the next topic, and that is multiple alleles. What is multiple alleles? Multiple alleles means already the allele concept is clear to each and everyone. We all know when any specific gene or gene marker is having more than 2 allelic forms, then those specific allelic forms are known as collectively multiple alleles. Okay, keep it in your mind. In case of multiple alleles, dominant alleles are present, recessive alleles are present, and except that other alleles are also present, which are mostly in between dominant and recessive alleles. So as an example, just we will be seeing the blood group of human. Keep it in your mind, for the blood group the responsible gene is I gene. Keep it in your mind. You can see also in the figure, you can see in the book also, I gene is a type of gene which is responsible for the blood grouping. Now the point is, what is the full form of this I gene? I means isohemagglutinin. Again I am repeating, I for isohemagglutinin. That is the gene which is having 3 kinds of alleles. One is IA, another one is IB, and third one is IO. Out of these 3 alleles, IA and IB both are dominant alleles, and IO is the recessive one. And we already have studied in the codominance, IA and IB, these 2 alleles are expressing simultaneously, and that is actually the codominance phenomena. And those specific individuals who are, in case of whom the A and B, both of the alleles will be expressing at a time, they are having AB blood group because they are having AB antigen on the surface of RBC. So here, based on the genotype, we can see the phenotype of the individuals also. Suppose any individual is having IA genotype, so obviously their phenotype will be A blood group. Suppose any individual is having IB, so they will be obviously AB blood group containing individual. If an individual is having IO genotype, that means they are also A blood group containing individual, because IA is dominant over IO. So for that reason the feature of IA will be expressed, so obviously the A blood group is coming. If an individual is having IB, then obviously their blood group will be B, homozygous B. If the genotypic configuration is IBIO, then their feature will be coming B. And if the genotypic configuration is IO, so obviously they will be considered as the O blood group containing individual. So this is actually the genotype in the left hand side, and these are the phenotypes which can come in the right hand side. Keep it in your mind, the blood types A and B have 2 possible genotypes, already I have told, that is homozygous and heterozygous condition. Blood types, that is AB and O, only have 1 genotype each. Okay, for AB, IA, IB, and for O, IO. But for AB, A blood group and B blood group, 2 genotypes are present. For A blood group, IA and IAIO. For B blood group, IB and IBIO. That means they can be homozygous dominant and heterozygous dominant. Okay. So up to this specific ABO blood grouping mechanism, the multiple allele concept is getting finished. Next slide is starting with the linkage, and regarding the linkage we will be studying in the next video. So I think up to the multiple allele, whatever the portion we have completed, I think that each and every portion, each and every topic, each and every concept is very much crystal clear to each and everyone. And I think you have understood this video a lot, and you have enjoyed this video, I think. So thank you everyone for watching this. Thanks a lot.